3, 2, 1.
Imagine a temple that was not built but born from the earth itself. The Kailasa Temple in Maharashtra, India is such a place. It is not constructed from bricks or stones stacked one upon another. Instead, it is a single immense piece of rock sculpted into a magnificent structure. This temple is the largest monolithic creation in the world, a testament to an ancient vision of incredible scale and audacity. When you stand before it, you are not just looking at a building. You are witnessing a mountain that has been given the soul of a sacred sanctuary. It stands proudly within the Ellora caves, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Yet it is so unique that it commands a category all its own. The very idea of Kailasa is honestly just breathtaking. Instead of building upwards from the ground, ancient engineers and artisans did the opposite. They looked at a solid basalt cliff and saw a temple hidden within. Their task was to remove everything that was not the temple. They had to carve away the excess rock to reveal the divine form sleeping inside the stone. This process is called monolithic architecture, meaning it is made from a single stone. Kailasa is the largest and most complex example of this technique ever attempted by humankind. It is a place where human skill meets natural wonder, creating something that feels both earthly and divine at the same time. Visiting Kailasa today, on the 20th of August, 2025, feels like stepping into a forgotten age of giants and gods. The sheer effort required to create this marvel is almost impossible to comprehend. You can trace the lines of the chisel marks left by hands over 1,000 years ago. You can feel the coolness of the ancient stone that has witnessed centuries of prayers, monsoons, and changing empires. The temple is dedicated to the Hindu god Shiva, and its name, Kailasa, refers to his celestial abode in the Himalayas. The creators did not just build a place of worship, they sculpted a replica of a heavenly mountain right here on earth, a permanent invitation for the divine to reside among mortals. The wonder of Kailasa lies in its perfect imperfection. Every column, every statue, and every intricate frieze was carved with precision. Yet the entire complex retains the raw, powerful feeling of the natural rock from which it was hewn. It is a harmonious blend of meticulous planning and raw, organic creation. As you walk through its courtyards and halls, you are walking inside a sculpture. The walls, the ceiling, the floor, and the deities are all part of the same original rock. This fact changes your perception entirely. It is not just architecture, it is a subtraction of mass to reveal a spiritual truth, a profound statement made in stone that continues to inspire awe and reverence in all who visit. The numbers associated with the Kailasa Temple are staggering and help us understand the monumental task its creators undertook. The temple courtyard itself is immense, measuring approximately 84 meters long and 46 meters wide. The main temple structure, the Vimana, rises to a height of about 30 meters, equivalent to a modern 3-story building. But this was not built up, it was carved down into the rock. To create this space, an estimated 200,000 to 400,000 tons of solid volcanic rock had to be excavated and removed from the site. This is a weight so enormous it is hard to visualize, comparable to removing thousands of heavy trucks worth of material without the aid of modern machinery. Think about the challenges this presented. The workers were not just digging a hole, they were meticulously sculpting a complex of buildings from the inside out and the outside in, all at once. The structural integrity of the entire project depended on flawless planning. One wrong cut, one miscalculation, and a massive column or a delicate bridge could have been weakened, jeopardizing the entire structure that had taken generations to create. They had to ensure that the remaining rock was strong enough to support itself, creating load-bearing pillars, ceilings, and multi-story structures from the same parent stone. This required a deep understanding of geology and engineering that seems far ahead of its time. The sheer volume of rock removed is a testament to the dedication and perseverance of the people who built it. Historians estimate that this was not a project of years but of decades, possibly spanning over a century and multiple generations of artisans. To remove hundreds of thousands of tons of rock using only hammers, chisels, and picks is an almost superhuman feat. The logistics of clearing this debris from a deep excavated pit without large cranes or transport vehicles is another puzzle. It suggests an incredibly organized system of labor, where every person had a specific role in the grand, slow-moving process of creation and excavation. Today, as we marvel at modern skyscrapers and massive infrastructure projects built with powerful technology, Kailasa offers a humbling perspective. It reminds us of the incredible potential of human determination when fueled by faith and a unified vision. The scale of Kailasa is not just about its physical dimensions, it is about the scale of its ambition. To look at a mountain of solid rock and decide to carve a holy city out of it is an act of supreme confidence and devotion. The empty space around the temple is just as important as the temple itself, for it represents the immense effort and the mountain of material that had to be moved to bring this divine vision to life. While the exact history of Kailasa's creation is shrouded in some mystery, historical consensus attributes its commission to the Rashtrakuta king, Krishna I, who reigned in the 8th century CE. The Rashtrakuta dynasty was a powerful force in the Deccan region of India, known for their military prowess, administrative skills, and patronage of art and architecture. Building a monument as grand as the Kailasa Temple was not just an act of religious devotion, it was also a powerful political statement. It was a way for the king to demonstrate his wealth, his power, and the divine sanction for his rule. By creating a replica of Shiva's Himalayan home, Krishna I was aligning himself with one of the most powerful deities in Hinduism. The choice of Ellora as the location was also significant. The site was already a sacred place for centuries, with existing Buddhist and Hindu caves carved by earlier dynasties. By building the most spectacular monument of all at this location, the Rashtrakutas were positioning themselves as the inheritors and perfecters of this long-standing tradition. The Kailasa Temple, known as Cave 16 in the Ellora complex, was designed to be the undeniable centerpiece, overshadowing everything that came before it. It was a symbol of the Rashtrakuta dynasty's cultural and political dominance, a permanent mark of their legacy etched into the very landscape of India. Legends and folk tales add another layer to the temple's history. One popular story tells of a queen who prayed for her king's recovery from illness and vowed to build a temple to Shiva if he was healed. She promised to fast until she could see the top, or shikara, of the temple. To fulfill this vow quickly, the architects proposed the revolutionary top-down method, allowing the shikara to be completed first. While this is a romantic tale, it captures the sense of urgency and divine purpose that seems to have driven the project. It speaks to a deep-seated faith that was the engine behind this incredible architectural and engineering achievement. The legacy of Krishna I and the Rashtrakuta dynasty is inseparable from the Kailasa Temple. While their empire eventually faded, their contribution to art and architecture has endured for over 1,200 years. The temple stands as a testament to a time when rulers invested in cultural and spiritual projects of an almost unimaginable scale. It reflects a society that possessed not only the technical skills, but also the collective will to undertake a multi-generational project for the glory of their god and their king. The royal vision behind Kailasa was not just to build a temple, but to create a timeless wonder that would communicate their power and piety through the ages. The most astonishing aspect of the Kailasa Temple's creation is its unique construction method. Unlike any other building, it was not built from the ground up, but was carved from the top down. The master architects and sculptors began at the peak of the basalt cliff. They first marked out the outer boundaries of the temple complex on the surface of the rock. Then, they started to dig downwards, slowly and carefully trenching deep into the stone on 3 sides to isolate a massive central block of rock. This central block would eventually become the main temple. The Nandi shrine, the entrance gateway, and the connecting bridges, all carved from the same monolithic piece. This top-down approach was a stroke of genius for several reasons. Firstly, it solved a major logistical problem. By starting from the top, the workers did not need to build elaborate scaffolding, which would have been nearly impossible for a structure of this complexity and scale. They were always standing on the surface they were working on, using the rock itself as their platform. As they carved deeper, the debris would simply fall to the floor of the excavated pit, from where it could be cleared away by another team of laborers. This method allowed for a more organized and systematic workflow, with different teams working at different levels simultaneously. Furthermore, This technique gave the architects an incredible degree of control over the final design. They were essentially freeing a pre-imagined form from the stone. Every detail, from the towering shikara at the top to the plinth with its life-sized elephants at the base, had to be planned in advance. There was no room for error. A mistake made at an upper level could not be corrected later. This implies that the entire temple existed as a complete, three-dimensional blueprint in the minds of the chief architects before a single chisel was struck. It was a mental and artistic feat as much as it was an engineering one. The result of this method is a structure that feels cohesive and organic, as if it grew out of the rock. As you move from the top of the surrounding cliff edge down into the temple courtyard, you are following the same path as the creators. You can see how the intricate details emerge as you descend. The roofs of the temple halls were finished before their floors were even carved out. The pillars inside the halls were revealed as the rock around them was removed. This inverted process of creation defies all conventional logic of construction and remains one of the most brilliant solutions in the history of architecture, making Kailasa a true marvel of ancient engineering. The Kailasa Temple was not the beginning of rock-cut architecture in India, but, its magnificent culmination. For centuries before its creation, artisans across the country had been honing the craft of carving sanctuaries out of solid rock. The nearby Ajanta caves with their beautiful paintings and serene Buddhist chaityas, or prayer halls, and the Elephanta caves near Mumbai, with their powerful and dynamic sculptures of Shiva, are stunning examples of this tradition. These earlier sites were primarily excavations where caves were hollowed out of a cliff face. They were impressive in their own right, creating beautiful interior spaces for worship and monastic life. However, the Kailasa Temple took this tradition to a completely different and unprecedented level. While earlier sites involved carving into the rock, Kailasa involved carving out the rock. It is, the only attempt in Indian history to not just create a cave, but to excavate a complete, freestanding, multi-story temple complex from a single piece of stone. It has a fully realized exterior, as well as a detailed interior. You can walk around the main temple, look up at its towering shikara, and cross bridges connecting different parts of the complex, all of which are part of the original rock. This makes it structurally and conceptually unique. The ambition of Kailasa far surpassed that of its predecessors. The scale of excavation was many times larger than any of the individual caves at Ajanta or Elephanta. The complexity of the design, with its multiple shrines, halls, galleries, and life-size sculptures, was on a different plane altogether. The architects of Kailasa learned from the techniques developed at earlier sites, but applied them to a vision of unparalleled grandeur. They combined the sculptural dynamism of Elephanta with the narrative detail of Ajanta, and magnified it on a colossal scale, creating a structure that was both a sanctuary and a massive work of art. In this sense, Kailasa represents the zenith, the highest point of achievement for India's rock-cut architectural tradition. It was as if centuries of accumulated knowledge, skill, and spiritual aspiration were poured into this one singular creation. After Kailasa, the era of massive rock-cut monuments began to decline, giving way to the construction of structural temples built with stone blocks. It's as if the artisans and patrons realized that this art form had reached a pinnacle that could not be surpassed. Kailasa remains the final and most powerful word in the long and glorious story of Indian rock-cut architecture, a masterpiece that marks the end of an era. The creation of the Kailasa Temple was achieved not with advanced technology, but with the simplest of tools: iron chisels, pointed picks, and heavy hammers. The genius really lay not in the tools themselves, but in the hands and minds of the masters who wielded them. The process would have begun with quarrymen using heavy picks to break away large chunks of rock, creating the initial deep trenches around the temple block. This was arduous, physically demanding work that required immense strength and stamina. Following them, skilled sculptors would move in with a variety of chisels of different shapes and sizes to begin the more detailed work of shaping the structure and its intricate decorations. The precision achieved with these simple tools is truly remarkable. The artisans were able to carve perfectly straight lines, smooth, curved surfaces, and incredibly detailed patterns. They created pillars that were uniform in design, ceilings that were geometrically precise, and sculptures that seemed alive with movement and emotion. This was possible through a deep understanding of the stone they were working with. They would have known how to read the grain of the basalt rock, where to strike it to make a clean break, and how to use its natural properties to their advantage. It was a craft passed down through generations, a form of knowledge that was both practical and intuitive. One of the clever techniques used was the creation of bridges of rock. As the workers carved downwards, they would leave sections of solid rock intact to connect the main temple to the surrounding rock-cut galleries and the entrance gateway. These bridges were not added later. They were revealed from the parent rock, a testament to the incredible foresight of the planners. Similarly, they had to manage the flow of water. Channels were likely carved to divert rainwater away from the work area and to prevent erosion of the delicate carvings, ensuring the longevity of the temple. Every step of the process shows a blend of practical engineering and artistic vision. The final stage of the work would have involved polishing. After the rough carving and fine detailing were complete, the surfaces were likely rubbed smooth with abrasive stones and water. Some historians believe that the temple was originally covered in a thick layer of white plaster to make it resemble the snow-covered Mount Kailash even more closely, and then painted with vibrant colors. Though most of this plaster has worn away over the centuries, traces of it can still be seen in sheltered corners. This final touch would have transformed the dark rock into a dazzling, heavenly abode, completing the vision of the master artisans who poured their life's work into this stone. The Kailasa Temple was not the work of a single artist, but of a vast and highly organized workforce. It's estimated that thousands of laborers, sculptors, and architects worked on this project over many decades. This was a massive undertaking that required a clear hierarchy and division of labor. At the top was the Sthapati, the chief architect, who held the entire vision of the temple in his mind. He would have been a master of both Shilpa Shastra, the science of arts and crafts, and Vastu Shastra, the science of architecture, responsible for the overall design, measurements, and spiritual symbolism of the temple. Beneath the chief architect were specialized guilds of artisans. There were the quarrymen, the strong hands who did the heavy work of removing tons of rock. Then came the sculptors, who could be further divided into different ranks. The master sculptors would have been responsible for the most important works, such as the images of the deities and the major narrative panels that adorned the temple walls. Other carvers would have worked on the decorative elements, such as the intricate patterns on the pillars and ceilings, or the rows of elephants and mythical creatures that formed the temple's base. Each artisan knew their role in this grand symphony of creation. The entire temple is a visual encyclopedia of Hindu mythology, carved in stone. The walls are covered with panels depicting stories from the great epics, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, and from the Puranas, which tell the tales of the gods. One of the most famous panels shows the demon king Ravana shaking Mount Kailasa in an attempt to dislodge Shiva. The sculpture brilliantly captures the power of Ravana and the calm, unshakable stability of Shiva and Parvati. These carvings were not just decoration, they were a way of telling stories to the people, educating them in their faith and culture in a vivid and accessible way. The collective effort of these thousands of anonymous artisans is what gives Kailasa its soul. We do not know their names, but their skill, devotion, and artistic spirit are immortalized in every corner of the temple. They work together, generation after generation, to bring a single, unified vision to life. The consistency of the artistic style across such a vast and complex structure is a testament to their shared training and their commitment to the project. They were not just workers, they were devotees, and their labor was an act of worship. The result is a place that feels like it was built by a community of faith, a collective offering to their god. The Kailasa Temple is more than an architectural wonder. It is a sacred space designed according to a profound spiritual blueprint. Its very layout is symbolic, intended to represent the cosmic mountain Mount Kailash, the mythological home of Lord Shiva. The temple complex is designed to be a journey for the devotee, leading them from the profane world outside to the sacred heart of the sanctuary. The journey begins at the towering entrance gateway, which separates the temple grounds from the outside world. As you step inside, You enter a courtyard that contains several structures, all part of a cohesive symbolic plan. In the center of the courtyard stands the main shrine, the Vimana, which houses the sacred lingam, the abstract symbol of Shiva. This is the spiritual core of the complex. In front of the main shrine is a separate pavilion for Nandi, the sacred bull who is Shiva's mount and guardian, eternally gazing at his lord. The complex is also flanked by two massive freestanding victory pillars, or Dwajastambhas, which symbolize the triumph of the Rashtrakuta dynasty and the glory of Shiva. The entire layout follows the principles of ancient Hindu temple architecture, creating a space that is both aesthetically pleasing and spiritually charged, a microcosm of the universe itself. One of the most remarkable features of the temple's design is the massive plinth on which the main shrine stands. This space is carved with a frieze of life-sized elephants, lions, and other mythical creatures, depicted as if they are carrying the entire temple on their backs. This is a direct reference to the belief that elephants hold up the world in Hindu cosmology, and it reinforces the idea of the temple as a cosmic mountain. As devotees walk around the temple, they are reminded of this powerful symbolism, which connects the earthly structure to a divine cosmological reality. The entire design is meant to elevate the spirit and inspire a sense of awe. Unlike many ancient monuments that are now just historical ruins, the Kailasa Temple remains a living place of worship. For over 1,200 years, prayers have been offered here. Priests continue to perform daily rituals, and devotees flock to the temple, especially during festivals like Mahashivaratri, to seek the blessings of Lord Shiva. This continuous tradition of worship imbues the temple with a vibrant spiritual energy that can be felt by visitors. It is not a museum piece frozen in time, but a dynamic, sacred space where the past and present merge, and where the ancient stones continue to resonate with the chants and prayers of the faithful. When we place the Kailasa Temple in the context of other great monumental structures of the world, its uniqueness becomes even more apparent. We can compare it to the pyramids of Giza in Egypt, which were built by assembling massive stone blocks to create an artificial mountain. Kailasa, in contrast, was created by deconstructing a natural mountain. We can also look at Petra in Jordan, where magnificent facades were carved into rock cliffs. But Petra's creations are primarily exteriors. Kailasa is a complete three-dimensional freestanding building complex, liberated from the rock that surrounds it, making it a far more complex architectural feat. Consider the Parthenon in Athens, a masterpiece of classical architecture celebrated for its perfect proportions and refined beauty. It was constructed with meticulously carved marble blocks. The Kailasa Temple, however, was sculpted from a single continuous piece of living rock, which presented an entirely different set of challenges and required a different kind of architectural genius. There was no possibility of transporting pre-carved blocks. Every element had to be shaped in its final position. This makes Kailasa not just a work of architecture, but a monolithic sculpture on an architectural scale, a category that it almost single-handedly defines. The sheer audacity of the project also sets it apart. While cathedrals in Europe were built over centuries, piece by piece, their construction was additive. The vision for Kailasa was subtractive and had to be perfect from the start. A single major error in the carving could not be fixed by replacing a block. It would have been a permanent flaw in the monolith. This demand for foresight and perfection in planning is perhaps unparalleled. The creators of Kailasa were not just builders. They were master planners who could visualize a highly complex three-dimensional structure and a precise path to its realization before removing a single chip of stone. Ultimately, the mystery surrounding its creation adds to its global stature. While we have records for many of the world's great monuments, the precise methods and timeline for Kailasa remain a subject of awe and academic debate. How did a kingdom in the 8th century organize the labor and logistics for such a monumental project? How did they achieve such precision with simple tools? These unanswered questions elevate Kailasa from a historical artifact to an enduring symbol of human potential. It stands proudly among the greatest achievements of civilization, a testament to a unique vision that chose to reveal a temple not by building it, but by setting it free from the earth.